this video we're going to be looking at how to write triads. So we're going to look at some major triads and some minor triads. So the first thing you want to do is start out with a piece of staff paper like this. Now staff paper is just empty lines like this. They usually don't have treble or bass clefs written in. So grab a piece of staff paper and we can get started. So the first thing you want to do is put yourself in a clef. So for this purpose, we're going to use a treble clef. And then we're going to put the bass clef on the bottom, which is how we normally see it in our music. Okay, so go ahead and write your treble and bass clef out, and then we can start off with some triads. So the first one we're going to write is going to start on F. So everything we're going to do here is going to be in whole notes. So don't worry about filling them in or adding any stems. Just leave them as whole notes. They're a little bit easier to see that way. So once you have your F written in, perhaps you already know if the F major triad has black keys in it, but let's say you don't know for sure. So all you have to do is write in what looks like a snowman above that F. So you're going to be writing a skip up and then another skip up. There's that snowman shape. For now, let's just leave it like that and head to the bass clef. We're going to do the same thing down here. Start with that F and then add the note that is a third above it and then one more third above that, which heads us right into middle C. So we have to draw that line through it so that we know that that is C. Now, if we didn't draw the line, say we drew something like this instead, that's not quite right. It looks really similar, but it's not it because it's missing that line that makes it into middle C. So technically, if you have a note sitting above the staff like that, above that bass clef staff, that's technically a B. And then we have to have that line through it to make it a C. So make sure you have that line in it if you want it to be middle C, which we do for that F chord, the F major chord more specifically. Okay, so now our next step is to figure out if we need to have any black keys. So take a look at your piano, and for us, I'm going to draw us a little keyboard here so we can see it that way, then we don't have to switch back and forth between looking at this sheet and looking at the keyboard. So for you, you don't need to draw this piano since you can just be at your piano as you watch this. Alrighty. So there's our keyboard. So here's the F. And then we need to figure out what the notes are of the 5-finger pattern. And that will tell us if we have any black keys in our triad. So for this one, we're going to count a whole step. Since we're looking for major, we're going to go a whole step, another whole, a half, and then another whole. And those are the notes of the F major 5-finger pattern. Now we know that the triad is made up of the first, third, and fifth notes of the 5-finger pattern. And that's what we have written here. And it looks like those are all white keys. So that means that the F major triad is already done. There's no black keys to worry about for the first, third, and fifth notes. So this is F major, so we can go ahead and label it with a capital F. And to be extra clear, you can write a capital M after that. That's F major. So now if we want to make it into F minor, we start out the same way. You're going to draw that snowman starting on F, in the treble clef, and then in the bass clef. Don't forget to put that line through middle C. And then now we can look up at our keyboard again and decide if we have any black keys in F minor for the triad. So to do that, we're going to count whole, half, whole, whole. to get the notes of the minor five-finger pattern. So here's our whole step up from F, then half, whole, whole. So again, minors are whole, half, whole, whole. Now for our triad, we have the first, third, and fifth note. Now that third note right there, that's a black key. So we need to figure out how to change this to make this into F minor, because we know F major is all white keys. So right now we've got F major written twice, which is exactly where we should be. But now we need to transform that second one into minor. So to do that, we figured out that that third note is a black key. So we need to move the third note down a half a step, because it was here, just that regular A, and now we need to make it into an A flat, because it went down a half a step. And that's why this needs to be an A flat instead of an A sharp, because it moved down from A. So we just write a flat in right before the A, and now we have F minor. So to write the name of a minor triad, you want to make sure that everything you write is lowercase. So we do a lowercase f, and then a lowercase m. So just the regular uppercase f, that means F major, and just the regular lowercase f, that means F minor. But just to have extra clarity, we put the capital M for major and the lowercase m for minor. So there's our F major triad, and there's our F minor triad. So let's try another one. We're gonna move over to, let's do A triads. So you start on your A, and then you draw your snowman notes right above it. And then the same thing in the bass clef. All right. Now we can look at our keyboard again, and I'm going to just erase these X's that I put on our keys from identifying notes from F major and F minor, and change it over like this. Okay, so now we've got our clean slate. So we have A right here, and we're going to look for the major five-finger pattern. So we've got whole, whole, half, whole. And there's our notes for A major. Now it looks like the third note has a black key. So we go over here, and we know that this is that middle note that has to be transformed into a black key. Now as it stands right now, that note that we have written is a C. So to make that into this note here, we have to decide if it needs to become a C sharp or a C flat. Now remember, if you have a sharp, that makes your note go up a half a step, and a flat makes your note go down a half a step. So in this case, we went from C and we moved up to C sharp. So we need to write a sharp in here. And that one is capital A, capital M for A major. Now we can do the same idea for A minor. You can just draw that snowman out. And then we can count whole, half, whole, whole. Now, in case you're ever wanting to get there a little faster, you can remember your major five-finger pattern, which is typically a little easier to remember than minor since we learned it first. And all you have to do is take your third note and move it down a half a step. And that transforms major into minor for your five-finger pattern. Okay, so we have all white keys, and that is whole, half, whole, whole. So that's our minor five-finger pattern, and we can label it lowercase a, lowercase m for A minor. Now, you may be feeling like this is a little bit straightforward because you think, oh, I already know how to play my major or minor triads. But writing them is a little bit harder than playing them because you have to decide if the black key is going to be labeled with a sharp or a flat. So let's do one more of them to just make sure that's super clear. So let's do E. All right, so we start with our E, and in this case, we're actually on lines instead of in spaces, but it still works the same way. You're just using all those line notes. And then in the left hand, we have spaces. I guess we had a mixture over here too of the lines in the bass clef and spaces in the treble clef. But here we have it again, but opposite. So for E, try and count that out on your piano. And if you need to pause the video while you think about it, that's totally fine. Okay, so hoping you found that that middle note needs to be a black key. Now we need to decide if it's a flat or a sharp. So as it stands right now, it's a G. So look at your keyboard and decide if it needs to go up or down from G. So the note that you have is a G sharp. It's the note right above G, this one right here. So that needs to be a G sharp. So you can go ahead and write your sharp in and then label it capital E, capital M for E major. And then do the same process for E minor and see what you come up with. Now, if you want, you can compare your E minor triad to your E major triad. And remember, to make a major triad into a minor triad, you take the third note, which is that middle note right there, the note that is up a third from the first note, and you move it down a half a step. Now, if you can recall, sharps alter the note they're next to by moving it up a half a step. So that middle note there, that note that is a third up from the bottom note, all we have to do is lower that a half a step to make it into a minor triad. So for us, this one's pretty straightforward. All we have to do is get rid of the sharp, because the sharp made that G go up a half a step, and now we need to make it go down a half a step. So it's just normal in this case. Just a regular old G, and that's E minor. So hopefully as you're going along and following this, you can sort of play these and hear how they're major or minor sounding. And now you can see why they're written the way they are. Now, go ahead and work on the worksheet that goes along with this video and let me know if you have any questions.